Here we are in northern Sweden, in the middle of nowhere. Trees in every direction for hundreds of kilometers. But there's also people out here. Scattered throughout the interior are small towns that exist for one reason. Something was worth taking out of the ground or out of the forest. This is a series about how one of these places comes to be. Granbo doesn't exist yet. Right now, it's a stretch of forest where a railway happens to pass a few timber roads. And that's all there is. But a timber company needs somewhere to keep its machines running, and workers need somewhere to sleep, and that's usually how these things start. Nobody founds a town. Somebody solves a problem, and a town turns up later. In this series, we're gonna follow Granbo from the very beginning, and we'll be growing it like a real place. This means that we'll only build what the community needs today, and we won't plan further into the future than a real municipality would at any point in time. The map we're going to be building on is a modified version of the 7 Lakes map from the Mass Transit DLC. I have removed the very large highway coming into the city, and instead we have some infrastructure that's going to be a bit more realistic for the middle of nowhere in a forest in Sweden. Starting out, we have the regional railway coming in from the north and moving through the map to the south. This existed long before Granbo ever did, and it was built to open up the interior of the country. It's used to transport timber from the forest to the processing plants where it's turned into paper and other products. In addition to that, we also have the dirt roads. These were built by the timber company in the cheapest ways that roads can be built. They're used by timber trucks to access the different forestry sites in and around Granbo. Next to it all, we have a system of 7 different lakes surrounded by mountains on every side. But it's here, in the center of the map, where the roads meet and the railway passes, that we find the whole reason why any of what's to come happens in the first place. One last thing before we start building. I want to mention that we will be using a few mods to increase the realism a bit in this build. Realistic population overhauls the number of residents in each building, and this means that we'll generally only see one family living in single family homes, and a much higher number of families living in larger apartment buildings. Life cycle rebalance impacts things like childhood, meaning that kids won't start school the minute they're born, and both the illness and mortality rates will be impacted by a citizen's age. And last but not least, rebalanced industries makes the entire production chain a bit more realistic and rebalances a lot of costs, employee numbers and cargo output of industrial buildings. You'll find a link to the entire mod collection in the video description if you want to take a closer look yourself. The very first thing we're going to think about is our power. And here, if we open up the electricity panel, we can see that we basically have 2 options. We either go with the wind turbine or the coal power plant. This is just a more advanced version of the same. So now, if we consider the coal power plant, here we are in the middle of nowhere, we're on dirt roads, and shuffling a lot of coal to this place would probably cost quite a lot of money. And this coal power plant will also produce a lot of power that we won't need for quite a while. So instead, we're going to go with the wind turbine. And looking at the map, we can see that we have some strong wind over here, but unfortunately that's in the middle of a lake, so it's not going to work for us. But we can see that we have maybe some wind over here. Yeah, we're going to get 5 megawatts. Or down here we can get 6. So let's go with this position. We'll place this on the shore right there. Perfect, that looks very good. Now that we have our power source in place, we can start thinking about the reason why this settlement begins in the first place, the workshop. Normally, I would probably place this close to the intersection over here, because that's where most of our traffic is going to be. But if we think about it, that would mean that we have to run power lines all the way from this location up here. Given that we have our power source down here, and it's not really that far away from the intersection, I think it makes more sense to build our workshop down here. Here we also have a lot of access to fresh water. So the first thing we need to do is to build a road. So we'll go into our road menu and we'll find dirt roads. In here I'm just going to go pull a road straight out from here. Let's go, maybe that's a bit far. Let's go 20 units. Perfect. And just having some random industrial buildings with smokestacks here wouldn't make that much sense. So instead we're going to use the Find It mod together with Ploppable Rico to find something that makes a bit more sense for Granbo. And I think this building right here makes a lot of sense to start with. Kinda looks like a workshop. So let's go ahead and place this on our brand new road. I'll place this quite close to the main road. Very nice. Actually, I think I'll place 2 of these. There we even got the same color. Really nice. So now let's find some more of these buildings that make sense. I think let's go with this one. And we'll also put one of these. And in my eyes, this looks a lot better than just having random industrial buildings. And every time we plop a building, it becomes historical. And what this means is that it will not change its appearance depending on the level of the building. And this is especially handy because the very first thing I'm going to do is use the advanced level building control to downgrade these. Otherwise, they're all level 2, so they're going to start complaining that they don't have services that we haven't unlocked yet. And that's going to cause some issues with abandonment. So leveling these down to 1 is avoiding all of that. Now that we have our workshop area in place, we need to start thinking about water and sewage. And if we go into the water menu, we can see that we have 2 options for fresh water. Either the water pumping station or the water tower. I think the water pumping station would make a lot of sense, but the problem with this asset is it's just completely out of size compared to our workshop. So instead I think we'll go with the water tower. And if we place this here next to the crossing, I think it'll work as a nice landmark that you can see when driving by. There we go. Very nice. And now, moving on to our sewage, we have two options. Either the water drain pipe or the inland water treatment plant. Now, when a settlement like this was started, probably in the early 1900s, it wasn't that uncommon to just pump your sewage water straight into the nearest body of water. But the problem on this map is that they're all lakes. So if we do this, eventually they're going to overflow and then we're going to have a huge issue on our hand. So instead of the water drain pipe, I think we'll go with the inland water treatment plant. And currently there's no other actor in Granbo other than the timber company, so this would have to be built by them to supply their own settlement with sewage. And with this in mind, I think it makes sense to build this in a way that is connected to our current industrial area. So we'll just pull this road a bit further out. I want to place this next to the water because I think in real life this asset would require an access to fresh water. So let's try something like that, and we'll see if we can place this down here. Yeah, I think that'll work. This also has an added benefit because it means that the timber company will save a bit of money on power lines. As you see right here, we won't have to connect the treatment plant to the wind turbine, so we can just go ahead and connect this straight to our workshop. And I think we'll run this right behind the zoning tiles, so if we want to build more buildings in the future, it's not going to stand in our way. Perfect. Now that we have all our basic necessities in place, I think it's about time we start thinking about some workers. And this is going to be some very basic housing for seasonal workers. Basically a place to sleep between your shifts. This would be built by the timber company. And since nobody's going to stay here year round, I think the main consideration is staying far enough away from the workshop to be able to sleep away from all the noise. But at the same time, building roads, water pipes and power lines all cost money. So we want to stay as close as we can. So I think this area next to the water here is going to make a lot of sense. So here I'll just go into our road menu, I'll select our dirt road, and then we'll pull something out from here. Let's go, straight one. Go 6 units will be fine, and then we'll go 15 units out. And then I think we'll also, we have road guidelines turned off, and we'll also do a second road here. Perfect, that'll work great. And now before we place any buildings, let's go ahead and make sure we have some water pipes as well. So we'll select our water pipe. And here we can have curved pipes in this game, but if you turn off all your snapping except to grid, you can kind of emulate this if you want to place them under the road. This will snap pretty okay to the roads. And for this on, I'll turn on angle as well. Perfect, and last but not least we have our water tower. And let's quickly double check. I don't think our wind turbine does not need water. Now that we have everything in place, let's go ahead and build our very first worker housing. And same thing here, we're going to use find it together with poppable recode to find something that looks great in this area. Generally, I think these will probably be larger buildings with several workers housed in the same one, but there just aren't any high density buildings in the game that kind of fit the bill. So instead we're going to go with this very Swedish looking allotment house. So we'll place a few of these down here. So we'll go with something like this. I think that looks pretty good. But here we're going to have the same issue as we did with the workshop. These are all level 3, so I'll manually turn this down to level 1. There we go. Now all of them are level 1, so that's going to work perfectly. And now I think we have everything we need to start the simulation. Let's quickly double check. We have our water, we have our power connected, we have our water connected. And before we start, we just want to turn down the budget. Otherwise we're going to be overproducing a lot of stuff we don't need. And that's going to cause us to waste a lot of money. So there we go, we'll turn electricity and water both down to 50%. One very last thing we need to do before we start the simulation is increase the speed limit on this dirt road. If we go into Traffic Manager, you can see that the current speed limit is 30 on these. And I did a bit of testing here. It seems like the game thinks that this location is just way too far away from anything and it takes too long to get here based on the speed limit and the time it takes to drive here. So if we crank this up to 70, that's going to work a lot better for us. Otherwise, we're going to see that nobody's moving in. So we'll take this up to 70 on all the different roads. Also need to go here, and this one over here. And down here we have one that's intersected by the railroad. So this one will also. And now we just push play. And here we can see that due to the number of houses we built, we're already running out of power. So let's go ahead and turn that power budget back up to 100%. Perfect, there we go. And here we already have some of our very first residents moving into the city. And now that we have some residents here, I think it's time that the timber company opens up a shop. And I think this is going to be a mixed shop and canteen, so you can get some groceries, but you could also have lunch during your shift as well. So we'll go into find it, and then we'll go into commercial buildings. So I think this building right here is going to fit the bill quite well. We'll go ahead and place this on our main road right next to the intersection. Then you'll have easy access to it both from the workshop and from the housing. Perfect. Now with all of that in place, we can see that we still have a very strong demand for residential zoning. So let's go ahead and build some more housing for our workers. So here I think we'll just go ahead and extend this dirt road up here. Something like this. We'll go with the straight road tool. We'll snap to road length as well. That will go an additional 15 units. We'll also extend this road over here. Let's go 12 units here. And then I want to build another connection down to this road. So let's go 20 units. So we'll do something like this. And then we can connect this one up here. Perfect. It looks very good. And now since this is going to be the second stage of development, let's go ahead and find a similar building, but that doesn't look exactly the same. Then we'll kind of see that this area has grown over time. So for this stage, I think we'll go with a similar but not identical allotment house. So let's go ahead and plop a few of these down. And before I forget it, let's also provide these people with some water. I think that's going to make them happier. So that should cover everything. Perfect. Today, we've taken Granbo from a dirt road to a settlement of 100 people. A workshop, somewhere to sleep and somewhere to eat. This is still far from a town. Right now, it's a work site where people come, work a season, and then leave. And this leaves the question, when does anyone decide to stay? Next time, the company starts to think that this place might be worth investing in. And that means that it needs people who won't go home in October. If you want to follow along on the journey, subscribe and stick around. There's a long way to go. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.